Order March 4th, 2006. Can we go over our roll call, please, Helen?
Yes. Commissioner Bozo,
Here.
Commissioner Brinton, Commissioner Philos,
Here.
Commissioner Jimenez, Commissioner Miller. I'm sorry, Vice Chair Miller, Commissioner Martinez,
Here.
sorry, Chair Martinez and Commissioner Ramirez, sorry,
Here.
have it.
Great. Awesome. If you all join me to stand for our flag salute. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we get the secretary's report, please.
The agenda was posted on February 27, 2026.
Thank you. We will find any approval of minutes. We do need approval of our agenda. Is this an action item for number 6? Something that we
Yes.
approve on?
Yes,
Said so.
staff does not recommend any adjustment to this, but
I make a motion.
Commission may.
The agenda is passed. Second.
Got a motion from Commissioner Ramirez and a second from Commissioner Bozo. Introductions, looks like we don't have any introductions.
just a voice vote on that, on the agenda.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I apologize.
Thank you.
Perfect. Looks like we can go ahead and go straight onto our public comments
Jane
on
Guthrie?
items that are not on the agenda. Do you have anything?
Yes, we have Ms. Jane Guthrie.
Where do I?
Right there.
Okay.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Jan Guthrie and I'm a member of the AAUW, which is American Association of University Women in Gilroy. So we've had a environmental justice / action committee going for about 3 years now. And last year we hosted our first, we with CAS, hosted the CARAS, hosted our first, or helped host our first Earth Day in Gilroy for many years. And so this year we'd like, I'm just here to invite you all to come to our second, for a while, Earth Day in Gilroy on April 18th. It's a Saturday, April 18th. And I don't think the location has been, set yet. It's either Christmas Hill Park, Holiday Park, Los Animas, maybe, we're not sure. So anyway, just wanted to invite you all to come. Last year, the planning, the Parks and Rec Commission was able to have a table there and sharing information. So, so welcome to the birthday and April 18th. So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, my name is Dave Lieberman. I am a 4th and 5th grade PE teacher here in town. I have a 8-year-old in 2nd grade at Rod Kelly and a 5-year-old that goes to kindergarten at Rod Kelly. They both play Little League and softball in our rec programs. On the side, I also facilitate youth baseball and softball tournaments, and I'd like to bring them to Gilroy. I've been facilitating those tournaments on the Central Coast. Started in Morro Bay, and then last year worked our way up to Aptos and Santa Cruz. And I'd like to do it here instead. I know that can be done right now, and you know, I think the field could hold up, but I'd like to start raising funds to enhance the fields. Those would be the fields over at Los Animas Park and Christmas Hill Park. Not only would it be a great upgrade for the youth of the city, but it would also be a big draw to pretty much the whole state of California. So I just wanted to present that to you today, and that's why I'm here.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Appreciate it. If you want to leave, yeah, if you would mind, Mr. Limerick, if you leave some contact information, you can just in case we want to talk. Thank you.
Did you fill out a card? Did we get a card? There we go.
Okay.
If you just do that, that'd be great. Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead and move on to the approval of our calendar year for our 2026 Parks and Recreation Commission schedule. Do we have a copy of that by any chance?
Should be attached.
Attached.
And the chair indicated that there's at least two folks who will not be available for the regular meeting on March 17th. And there's just a question as to whether one, we have anybody else that we're not aware of. And two, I guess the question being is there a desire to look at perhaps moving your March regular meeting to the following week?
The following week, would it also be a Tuesday, John?
I think we can hold it on a Tuesday. I don't know if we can have this room. We'll have to find a spot. It may be over in the senior center, but it may be here as well. I'm not sure who's meeting exactly where, but we can still accommodate a meeting if you want to move it to a Tuesday.
Change would work for me, because I have somewhat of a conflict that night also. But I was up, that's gonna be able to make it. Change great.
I could, some plans fell through for me the following on 24th, so I can't make it. I can't.
Is this something that we would need a motion on, John?
What we would suggest is confirm if the 24th works for the group, if that'll work for everybody as much as possible. And then what we would ask for is a motion to approve the calendar year 2026 there with that the entirety, but we would make that adjustment at the March 24th. That's why we combined these two. We didn't know which date the March meeting might be.
Got it. Understood. Yeah, we could take it down the line. And see, Greg, what are your thoughts? Is there any conflict with switching our next meeting to the 24th?
Right. Perfect me.
Commissioner Boswell,
I can make it.
you can make it 24.
Good.
24th? No, I can make it 24. Perfect.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and make that adjustment to have a special meeting for the 24th instead of the 17th.
All right. That's the change.
It's just a regular.
It's a special meeting at that point. If it's not on your regular Gilroy City Code date, then it's a special meeting. But it will contain the regular agenda items.
And I encourage folks, if you need to take a second now, if there's any other conflict that we might know of that might cause conflict or
Can I-
multiple.
Can I interject here? I think that's, I don't mind changing this one, but I think it's best to stick to the schedule. The public can depend on that. I would rather not open it up. That's just there's my 2 cents to open it up, to look at each calendar date to see what does or doesn't work. I think if we all know it's the second or third Tuesday of the month, and that's what the public knows, we should stick to that. But I'm okay with the 6.
Right, I agree as well, but if there's gonna be multiple commissioners that are not gonna be available, and we don't have a quorum, then I think that's something that we could actually take a look at now. If there's anything outstanding for folks, now we can take a motion, correct, to approve our meeting schedule?
Yep.
I'll make the motion to approve our 2026 Parks and Recreation meeting schedule.
With the change of the March meeting to March 24th.
Correct.
Okay.
I second that.
Do a voice vote?
All in favor?
Aye.
Awesome. Okay, so, next item on the list is the review of our current, work plan for the fiscal year 26-27. And I believe that's the one that's attached to the document copy, correct?
It is attached. It's also up here. I know it's not easy to read, but it'll but it's attached to your packet. And, if I could, Chair?
Absolutely.
So,
This,
commission has done an excellent job of meeting a lot of your work program. And we're not through even fiscal year 26, the first year. If you'll note that typically the commission, work plans are developed on the biennial budget, the 2-year budget. And so we're looking forward at 2 distinct years. In this case, the biennial budget was set for fiscal year 26 and 27. Your work program included engage the community, which participate in various events. You've got noted there, maintain and enhance existing park facilities, and establish permanent pickleball facilities, plan for the future, and then it was kind of an interesting one with the recreation needs assessment. And my take on that one was to basically follow suit with what was being done or what was anticipated to be done, but participate and engage with that on that. At the time, we weren't sure exactly what was going to happen with the recreation needs assessment. Obviously, the city administrator's offices and the recreation division are working through and developing and already should be awarding the contract on that one soon. So the thought process came about in November as to since we were in good shape in many respects. One of those was obviously update the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. That one, the big issue at that point was, can we get funding for that? Can we encourage and hope that the council will support that? A couple of months ago, almost now, council awarded funding for that, and we're preparing to go out within the month for the request for proposals on it. So that was the big piece of the initial piece, your analysis and your efforts there, and the rest of your work program basically identified that. You also had, with regard to maintain and enhance, a big push was and is the pickleball courts. So you advocated for and along with a number of folks in the community and the council, obviously provided funding for that, and we're in the process of moving forward with that effort. So that puts a lot of things off the table a little bit from that. And there was a suggestion in November that we should come back and you should come back as a group and discuss what fiscal year 27 might look like, since we have some of these things already in the hopper and kind of moving forward. So the purpose of this was to kick off that conversation in earnest. On your agenda were a few items that the commission discussed at different times, and commissioners have heard discussed. 10.2.1 is what we're doing right now. But you had the pedestrian and bicycle safety education effort was an area that was thought to be a place in light of the after fiscal year 27, but there's still some funding there. The Measure B monies from VTA would be available for this work effort moving forward. You also, and obviously in light of the Los Animas school situation, this seemed like an appropriate path. And again, you have an obligation to deal with this under the context of your role as fulfilling the Bike Pedestrian Advisory Committee role, which is education and effort with regard to pedestrian and bicycle safety. There was also a conversation over 2 meetings, a little bit talking about operation and hours for the parks, and perhaps looking at that, and also looking at maybe park regulations and modernizing that effort. So that was on the list. And obviously, I've sort of taken liberty on this one to say I would include in this the implementation side, moving forward with toward the adoption of your Parks and Recreational Trails Master Plan. So I looked at this work program as getting the money first, and then it's sort of the big piece and the big lift after that is reviewing and going through this. And what I've suggested is that somewhere down the line, probably in 6 to 8 months after we award contract, I could see us getting to the point where we're looking at a second meeting a month as a special meeting, just to go over, allow community input and work through the master plan conversations with the consultant and go through that. So this is going to be a significant lift. I was mucking around in my office and just before this meeting and realized that one that I would put under the other piece to at least give a consideration. You had an individual come and speak about the desire for disc golf at Christmas Hill Park, particularly. I think they were suggesting the ranch side, but I'd call it just Christmas Hill Park. And I would just suggest maybe we add that to the list and have a conversation whether you're interested in considering working on that. With that, I think we at least owe, in this context, the opportunity to discuss it and deal with it. And I don't know, certainly this is the time to lay out any other things that's on your mind and thoughts about this and anything like that. But that was kind of the thought process for tonight. This frankly doesn't have to be an extremely long meeting with it. We've got things that are still on the work plan. I suggest not going crazy with too many additional items, because what this will cover is basically what you're planning to do through the end of this fiscal year and through next fiscal year. So basically planning on this being through June 30th of next year on it. But that still leaves a pretty significant time frame to do some work and everything on that deal. I will tell you that based on everything with that, there is about, with regard to the pedestrian and bicycle and Measure B monies from VTA, there will be about $18,000 available for fiscal year 27 for work. What I can also tell you is that Gilroy PD is obviously engaged in this. Gilroy Unified School District has been and become very engaged in this, and some obviously with this deal. And we, as Public Works Department, have become very engaged with this effort. And so the timing, I think, is certainly appropriate. And I don't know that we have to spend a great deal of money to get that. $18,000 doesn't go very far when you're looking at potentially materials to hand out, things to deal with that, to produce those, to actually copy them, to get your net in on the social media side, but also to look at from the context of maybe doing video work. We've looked at that as a possibility of trying to do education through video work, and it all depends on how involved the city wants to ultimately get in that. The role, I think that the commission should consider and at least talk about that tonight is, what do you see your role? I think that I would say my suggestion would be along the lines of being there in some instances, certainly being a sounding board here for the community, a place also for education to occur. And we kind of go from there in terms of what that means. I don't necessarily think that the commission has to be deeply involved in the material development, but I think you can be, again, a sounding board to take a look at some of the material that's coming through, or some of the video work that we may be looking at, dealing with it, and kind of going from there. I think, is that for the Brownell School, that flyer there? Zach, just sent me, today that, and I wanted to follow up with PD and get an idea what's going on, with that. And one of the things that I know, has been, a bit of a frustration on the commission side is just not knowing and being aware of some of the things going on. I think some of this relates to the Los Animas incident and stuff and trying to get out in front of it. So I think we all have to be, aware of that, but I'll be talking to PD about just better coordination and letting us get out in front of that. But I'm glad, I mean, I, don't want to sound ungrateful that they're working on this and obviously working with Gilroy Unified School District and on that. I think the commission could also help, liaison with the council and who is liaisoning, with Gilroy Unified School District on some of these issues as well. So that one just kind of hits a bigger piece because of the obvious issues going on with that. So we've kind of talked about some of these other issues. I think I'll just let, you begin your conversation and leave it at that.
Absolutely. So what we need to go through here, John, is if I'm understanding correctly, go through our work plan and either make some edits, correct? Edits can be adding on additional projects to what we want to focus on for the next fiscal year.
Yes, I think there's a couple of things with that. You had engaged the community, and in yours was Arbor Day, Bike to Wherever Day, Earth Day, Coffee in the Park, citywide cleanup efforts. We've heard Earth Day in the mix. Javier, you identified a couple of events going on at San Ysidro and coming up, and there are other potentially opportunities, and it probably makes sense to update if those aren't the right, or you want to add to that list and deal with it. It doesn't mean you have to participate and engage a table with those, but it means you're going to at least consider them, and kind of go from there. We have for your 24th of March meeting, we'll have an item specifically about some of the outreach efforts and to see where you want to go with those. But at this point, it would be just to say, does this capture enough? Do you want to expand that? Nothing precludes you from adding, just as a commission events you want to go to. But if this first item doesn't really hit all those things that are obvious ones for the commission, best to add them and we can, suggest those revisions.
Sure, thank you. Yes.
So regarding that first one, if I could, if you allow me to give some context to that and kind of how it started, so.
Absolutely. I was thinking we take it from the top down, going down the list, see if we still agree with everything, and at the end, we can have time to make modifications, add anything that would like. Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
Go ahead. You can.
So we're to engage the community, so I think one of the things that started, started getting more outreach. I think we got ourselves out there, and I think we did a good job of that as a commission the last year and a half. What's not on here is we participated in the Halloween run. First time the city had run the Halloween run in quite some time. That was a really good event. We were out there. I think this was going to get bigger. We also participated at La Ofrenda. That's another big event that we can get out and have a lot of people that want to educate their bike or whatever. That's another opportunity for us. We Cinco de Miles coming up. That's itself and bike safety. That's another area that I think we can. I know this is a lot, and you may or may not be able to pull this all off. Then the other big one for me, I thought Arbor Day was fine. Earth Day was okay. I think one that we didn't do, we wanted to do, and we got some pushback of people who was a Coffee in the Park. I think I don't think as a commission, we really know what's going on with other parks unless we get some kind of community input. And my vision for that was having a Coffee in the Park in the north side of town, whatever parks there, and one in Masan, and just around the city, so we can get input from the community side. This is what's really working, this is what we need. Then we have a real grassroots idea of what's going on with the parks. And when it comes time to do the master plan and all that stuff, we'll have a better sense. So I think that's one area that we never got to, that I would like to see us focus on.
Are you saying like the commission goes to the park?
Yeah, I mean, the commission, not all, but where we can, like, somehow we have to work with the city, advertise it to the local community, we'll have a coffee in the park, we can have donuts there and whatever. Come in and talk to us about what's going on and just see what we get. I have the coffee pots. Awesome, yeah, I can buy the donuts, so I don't have a problem with that, so if we have it, advertise and have 3 dozen donuts out there and coffee, people come over, sure.
Well,
Make sure, every first Saturday of every month, coffee with the mayor, make sure he can definitely advertise, say, hey. We have coffee with me, you can also have coffee,
I like that, yeah.
you tell people to show up those things, really, you get a chance to talk, it's a good turnout. So, if we can do that, make sure the coffee, maybe, make sure the mayor advertises us and says, hey, and come join us on the second Saturday, we can do it, on he has the first Saturday. Maybe we do the second Saturday.
I totally agree with that, and we went out and, city council member Hilton helped us buy a really nice, tent. Pop-up tent that's got, sides on it, it's really good, so it lends itself really well to that. And one of the things we talked about was in our budget was getting dollars for marketing. And I stuff that good giveaways we can hand out at these meetings, so I think that's something that, we never kind of fulfill that piece of it. The money for that, what that looks like, and then.
Yeah, I like that idea, and I'd be willing to help out getting the list of the park, and then maybe creating like an online survey or something that they could like, and then you have it.
if,
That's great.
if I could, that matches up and aligns well with the Parks Master Plan. And that's the perfect kind of outreach that we're going to need to look at. I think it's obvious that not too many come to see us, but I hope, I think when we start getting into the Parks Master Plan, they will come to see us more. And see you, not me, but you guys for sure. But that's a way to expand the outreach. So I think I'd certainly advocate for that ideal, moving forward. What I heard was, with this is not only engage in the community on in terms of those events, but come back to the council for budget for materials for giveaways and materials. Is that what I heard in consensus?
Yeah.
Okay.
For donuts or coffee or whatever.
Yeah.
Was outreach supplies not included in along with the pop-up tent, the other secure door purchase that we have? Money to set up? Sure.
This all came up at a very awkward time in terms of the city administrator situation occurring and everything of that deal. There was an agreement at that point that we would go ahead, and despite there not officially being the funding allocated with that, there was a conversation about it. There was misunderstandings, I think, on all parties with that deal. But the decision was at that point to get the pop-up canopy, do the covers, whatever with that deal, get the table, do the things of that deal, and then we could come back and ask for the additional assistance with regard to the outreach supplies. So that's why I think it's important that you just highlight that and put a second bullet point in there, is seek outreach supplies, funding for outreach supplies on it to get that clarified, get it done and dealt with. The objective would be, if you choose in the next month or so to approve a modified work plan, would be to submit this to the city administrator with hopes that this would, an expectation that this would reach to the city council as an amended work plan, and see where that goes with them. They're going to be, the timing is important sooner than later, only because there is a mid-term review point that occurs usually in May, which means basically you do a mid-year budget, which is happening soon. but then you do a midterm, which is between the fiscal years. And at that point, there are considerations by the council for, for adjustments, potential adjustments to budget. So that would be you'd want to get in front of that. So if you could, if you could get to an amended work plan and get that to
That's a good point.
Matt.
You always got surprised.
Yeah.
Get, hey, you need money for your budget. We have a month to pull it together and that means the cost of us to do that.
Yeah.
Have to like make it out. So,
Yeah.
making fun of that would be very, very helpful.
Luis, I love your idea of coffee in the park, right? I almost think we should have our meetings at the parks, right? I mean, it's clearly not working. There's plenty of parks with plenty of people. I don't know how feasible that is. But yes, I definitely second that. I would almost, push came to shove, would prioritize that, right? Going out in parks and getting there. Yes.
Another idea is that, you have all these things to go to. Over the summer, we have music downtown. We ought to, there's an opportunity for us to have a table. They have music series every Thursday night. All summer. There's an opportunity. You got a crowd there. Big crowd, good crowd. There's a number of people already out. I think we gotta join in. Again, a big crowd there having the opportunity to say, hey, this is what we got, this is what we're offering here this summer. That we're talking. So music in the park. And music in the park, music in the is it called the downtown
Thursday Night Live Thursday Night Live is what they called it last year, I think.
Yeah, I have a question. We have a list of such as events. Is this a complete list or does a calendar exist in one city? If it doesn't, can I suggest that we turn the such as into a calendar? With these events and then any park bookings maybe that rise above a certain level of significance. If there's a big baseball tournament, or pickleball tournament or something like that. It's big enough and perhaps. But we can turn that into.
Right, and I think that's what we're talking about next meeting, correct, John? Where we're gonna list out all the different outreach events that we're gonna have, and maybe that's a good time to put that calendar together. I love that idea.
I just, I love your enthusiasm as a commission. I've long sought a commission that was willing to go out and do this, but I just caution you just to be realistic with yourselves in terms of what you can commit to with everything else going on in your lives and everything. And I know everybody's at different points in their lives with their families, children, whatever that may be for careers. So I just say, don't overextend and then not live up to those things as well. So part of that is just being realistic. I have no issue. I think it's a great idea to do the calendar, but when you do the calendar, we can do that the next meeting. We can just think about that, and you can think about what that takes and dealing with to do the tabling and set up, tear down, sit there and do that. And I know many of you are already attending those things, those events anyway. So you say, hey, that's great, and I want to do that. But what you're basically, for the most part, suggesting in that is that those are things that you as the commission members will agree to do and deal with that. So I just caution of not of being realistic with yourselves and with your families in terms of what you can and can't do. Rec will be in some of these, and so we can get still outreach. And I think part of this issue is understanding what the recreation department also will be out and attending. We also attend Earth Day and some of these other events as Public Works through our environmental programs staff. So there's some things that we also layer on with that deal. And Arbor Day, obviously, we put on, and Arbor Day is actually going to be tied with Earth Day this year and in April instead of the October, as it's been for the last few years. So we decided to link it up with when Arbor Day is supposed to be and see how that goes.
Is there a calendar of like citywide events on the website?
No, because there are some of those that are city events, but most of the citywide events are not city events, so they don't go on typically a city calendar. Now, we issue permits, special events permits for those. So the bottom line is, for the most part, either through the recreation department and their events permit issuance that they do, or through the city administrator's office, the economic development folks, we have a pretty good idea of what programs happen during the year. Some pop up out of the blue, but for the most part, and that's going to get a lot easier on the 16th. There's going to be a proposal coming to the council, and we'll see what happens with that. But that would basically ask for all of the events folks to come in at one point in time during the year before we get to budget time and everything in that deal, and seek their waivers of fees or exceptions or expectations and everything. So at that point, that would give us, for the non-city events, a very good idea who's out there and what's going to be going on for the month, each month for the following year. But many of these are repeats, and so we do have a bit of a calendar, so wouldn't be a big push.
That discussion.
That's on the 16th, council meeting on the 16th.
So I agree with you, John. I think let's not overcommit just yet. If I may suggest for our next meeting to maybe have a list of all the events that all the different commissioners brought up. And we can make a vote next time for it all together to see what's really attainable. And it's better, I think, that we accomplish a smaller amount than to overshoot and not be able to fulfill all of it. How does that sound, folks?
I'm okay with overshooting personally. But yeah.
Not words that we.
Not
be strategic then.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would say this, if we get the outreach program, and so what, there's outreach, I would suggest this be develop outreach program materials, maybe programming and materials, and then also seek funding, seek budget for those, deal with it. I'd probably add that into the mix, because part of that means that if the commission is aware and gives consent, any one of you can pop up and basically say, look, this is what our role is. This is all we're going to do. This is the role you have. Any and all of you will maybe participate in some of these that you won't table, but you still can serve, and so you still can go in as a commissioner and represent the commission, just in terms of those handing out any outreach material. So I don't think it would preclude you from not still individually participating, as long as it was clear what your role was at that point. But I would include that as the work program, is developing the outreach materials as well, and what you want to deal with, and that could be relatively minor or significant, depending on what the commission's what your appetite is for work.
And I think funding is going to be very critical to our outreach efforts.
Mhm.
At the moment, I'm not familiar of what we would have for our outreach if, say, if there was an event, tomorrow. I'm not too sure what our inventory looks like, so I think if we could maybe to that, get inventory of what we have or potentially could have for outreach events that currently exist. And I think that'll give us a better idea.
There's not a lot.
Not a lot.
There's not a lot, and that's why I say.
And I think we'll get a lot with the BCA funding,
Yeah.
Safety pamphlets then, and offer.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, as we deeper into the parks master plan effort, there will be materials that come about with that, and I assure you, your coffee in the park generally ends up being boards, panels, questions, dots. You start to get people to say, hey, what's a priority for you? That's what we would be looking at doing anyway. So that's what you would be, so that builds your materials, and then and that starts really building that forward. So I do again encourage you to just be careful about some of that deal, but realize that down the road, and not that long down the road, there will be additional materials being generated as a result of your master plan effort, and that will, I think, liven up your opportunities wherever you are. If you're going to La Ofrenda, or some of the other issues and everything with that deal, you can take things that will be interesting for the community, interesting for you, and helpful to the effort with that over time. So.
So it sounds like we're all on board to continue with our community engagement. Okay, so we can go ahead and keep that as part of our work plan for the fiscal year. Can we move on to the second item on the list, which is maintain and enhance existing park facilities? Number one on that is for fiscal year 26 and 27, focus on Las Animas Veterans Park. Is that something that we all still want to keep on our work plan? And the second part to that is monitor city parks by commissioners and report findings at regular scheduled meetings.
So you're taking care of number two.
Yeah.
If I could share, we've got making significant strides at Las Animas. I'll just run through a few of those. That the bathroom, the new bathroom is going to be delivered next week and installed. Thank you. We had to reschedule from February because of weather. They couldn't get in with the crane to drop it in because the ground was going to be too soft and make a real mess of things. So it's on for next week. So thankfully, we put the new basketball goals in, the backboards goals. I think those look so much better. We have court 5 and 6, tennis courts 5 and 6 up for their refurbish it and fixing of the cracks there going down the middle, and they're going to resurface similarly as the tennis courts, the basketball court. So the basketball court will be clean, beautiful, and with the new goals. So I think that'll be spiffy, shiny, neat. So we're excited about that. And I met with Matt Jones today. We have some plans to work on the edges of the handball court. Javier and I had a chance to talk about some minor things that we could do and deal with that. And we're going to look at resealing, and we're working on looking to reseal at least the entirety of the asphalt around the handball court and refresh the striping there for the handball court as well, and get some additional asphalt out. So when you're serving and you're playing with that deal, you're not going into the mud and the dirt there to deal with that. So we're going to work on that. And obviously the big piece of the upcoming Las Animas park is the pickleball, and reorienting the dog park a bit there, and trying to clean up the dog park a bit, and also cleaning up some of the access around. And so there's that work that's going on. We'll also be moving forward with some improvements using the ballpark funds from the Gilroy Little League to do some work on fields at Las Animas and at Christmas Hill. Those will include covers for the dugouts and some other improvements with that deal. And for those that don't know, the Gilroy Little League fundraised over the years, had a pot of money, And a few years ago, they said, hey, how about you hold the money? And we'll agree as a group, as a city and as the Little League, on the projects that we want to fund with that. And so we met with Little League at the request of the commission months and months ago now. But we went out and did a walkthrough and found a lot of things that we could work on. And we now have agreement by both parties that we can use the ballpark funds for that. So those will be going on, and some of that will be in Los Animas. We're also going to be doing some cleanup of things. I don't know if you noticed, we removed the turnstile doors at the skate park. We had a report of at least one bicycle getting stuck in the turnstile that was built to keep the bicycles out at the time. And literally, I think 3 months after you opened the skate park, state law changed. It said you have to allow bikes on the skate park. So so that was an expensive 3 months deal with it. But I hope you've seen it. It looks to me so much better. It looks more welcoming, and with it open out there. So I'm excited about that change, and it was pretty minor. And then something that's going to come up on your next meeting is going to be a conversation about the potential reopening of the Wayland and Hannah parking lots. The council last meeting, not the last meeting, the meeting before last now, said that we're interested in at least considering the idea and listening to that. So I wanted to bring it to you as a commission to get your ideas, thoughts, and let the community weigh in through you. And you can offer up any recommendation you want to, or basically a non-recommendation, however you want to proceed with that. But I think a recommendation would be appropriate from the Parks and Recreation Commission.
You know the timing of that, when they're gonna make,
Well, it's my staff report to do. So I want to allow time for you to hear that on the 24th. I'm anticipating that probably maybe the second meeting in April, first meeting in May, realistically on that. There's some work to be done on the report itself. Again, I think your meeting pushed another week or whatever, pushes out some of that, but I don't want that to lag along. I think the council wants that up. And
why was the parking closed in the first place? If you don't mind, can we circle back to this agenda item, because I think we have that set as an actual agenda item for our next.
We do, and we'll talk about that there. I've gone, yeah. And I apologize. I know I've listed a lot out there, but I've done that because I think we've met much of the expectations of the commission when you started to develop this work program months ago with that. We're not done, Los Animas won't. But I wonder if the commission wants to look at and consider alternatives to just Los Animas and refocus around maybe an additional location where you think there are some things that can be done.
Sure, I comment on this with you. So I think we have done a great job. I'm excited about all the good things that are happening. We've also started fixing up some of the play structures.
Yeah.
I think that's something that we should have, all the play structures. I don't know if we inventoried them all, but I think all they're being looked at. Del Rey's been redone. I think Oroba is still on the list. I don't know the condition of Forest Street, but I would imagine it probably needs some help. So I think play structures is something that fits this category that we should probably address, because that's one of the things we have to look out to, is make sure that we're equitable on all neighborhoods. And so all the parks most of them have play structures. We should be looking at that they're all done equally. And the last thing I want to do is that, and this is more of an anticipatory thing, we got kind of blindsided with a mural that they wanted to put at the handball court. And it didn't happen. So I think this is something that is exciting, that we get to Los Alamos, is work with the Arts and Culture Commission and hold. If it's cool to handball people, if they hold, I don't want to say competition, hold, an opening for, ideas for how that, what that handball court would look like. And work with the Arts and Culture Commission, and let's get in front of that, instead of somebody coming to us and say, we want to do this. That's just the two things that I want to throw out there for this category.
Yeah, I like.
Those are brilliant, please. I particularly your play structure, you know, I think at very least we can evaluate them, right? And if the funding is not available to make improvements, at least have a pulse of how everything, all the play structures are doing in our community. So that way, when funding is available, we can kind of, you know, we know what to prioritize. So I love that. Of course.
I'd like to, I think we should keep the Los Alamos Park on the list personally, just because I want to see it like come to fruition personally. And, yeah, I know there's a bunch of work going on, and I'm super excited about it, and I was thinking the mural too, actually, I was like, how cool would it be to like have it be applied? But another park that I think costs money and needs work is Christmas Hill Park. So, yeah, like,
I do.
Yeah, it's a fashion.
yeah, like there's old signs up that reference, you know, the garlic festival and the cooking areas, and people use them all the time too, which is like, let's make them good. So that's something I think could be a goal that we could put on here, like maybe we should also pay attention to this part.
I have a question, maybe for the city. Play structure we were talking about, are those capital improvements on schedule so that we install them, inspect, replace them in years or on schedule? Or is it indeterminate, inspected by?
Who brought this guy on the commission? The answer is they should. They have not been. They should be placed on the schedule. They should be planned for. And frankly, optimally, you would start to set aside money from the day you, in a perfect world, you would, as soon as you constructed it, you would start putting $1 a year aside for when you'd have to replace it again and deal with that.
Provide you with that? Expected lifetime.
We do, what I'll say, the ones, what we're looking at right now are, most of those are around 15 to 20 years on the panels. And most of them, amazingly, are actually holding up well, but they just look horrible, and they start to get brittle from being in the sun. But they're a pretty long order issue, but we're looking at for Rainbow Park, I think it's $260,000. And we're not even replacing the posts. We're just replacing the panels and moving some things around and dealing with that. They're going to be much cooler than what they're deal with that, but it's a very expensive proposition. So I say that, so I don't want to be evasive on what you're saying. One of the scope pieces in the parks master plan is for the consultant to evaluate all the existing parks, inventory basically what we've got, to the best of their ability, identify what we have out there in terms of time when they were constructed and through our records and everything, and to ultimately look at developing an estimate of current value, and estimate of replacement value. And ultimately what that's also leading to is a CMMS, a computer management system, maintenance management system, integration with that, which we have the portal, but we don't have the materials in there to set these things up on a regular replacement.
Have records that say installation dates, that sort of thing, so we can look to see if one is what's been.
Yeah.
We can do that as part of.
And we do regular, I want to make sure we do inspections every month. We do required safety inspections, but right now, we're struggling to try to figure out, we know some of them because they were built with the parks, and we can pinpoint those. Some have been replaced, and we're not sure exactly when they were replaced because there isn't good record of it, but you know, what we're looking at is in essence starting at that point. But we've already been looking at all of these things and putting them on the schedule. We, through the $500,000 that the council allotted for fiscal year 26, and 20, and then another $500,000 in 27. We've done 3 parks and playground equipment, which we had landed on being the most needy. And then we're going to have additional funds in fiscal year 27 that we're looking at and trying to figure out what is out there. We are also been contacted by Kaboom. I don't know if you ever watched Parks and Recreation, and there was an episode on Kaboom, but it's a nonprofit that builds new or replaces existing play equipment in areas of need with that. And we're been trying to identify a site for that, and where we would replace, work with them to perhaps replace a site at little cost to the city. So we're trying to also find some of those ways to leverage as much as possible. But the answer is long way around to that point is we've not done a good job of inventorying and any and all of the assets on our parks. And that's something we desperately need to do, so we can actually develop more fully the replacement program for many of those facilities, not just the play equipment. Frankly, the play equipment's the easiest thing probably of all the things to deal with. Look how long it took us to replace the basketball goals at Los Animas. I don't know how old the existing ones were, but I'm guessing they were at least 20 to at least 30 years old, maybe, with that deal. But so I hope did I answer adequate?
So one more thing, if I could, Chairman.
Go ahead.
I have a friend, acquaintance who owns a tree moving company in town. He would like to donate a relatively mature tree. He has a family for dogs, and he'd like to do it at the dog park with the signs. So I think maybe since we're going to pass it once with emphasis, but he is willing to do that. And maybe we do that when we need fences and we need a relatively mature tree. He's
Okay.
to donate his time, donate the tree. plant it
Perfect.
on.
Perfect. That'd be great.
If we did that. So put that out there.
How do
So-
we go about follow up with that? Should you connect with Louise for the rest of the future?
Just offline, we can talk about it and figure out whether that's an Arbor Day, whether that's, because we could also, if it's there and available soon, with that deal, we could link it in and, you know, even do it on, as part of an Arbor Day, and it spread out the good cheer beyond the normal one place that we usually go to and focus on.
Going back to the maintenance and enhancement of existing parks, Emily, I'm totally with you. I want to keep Last Animas on there so we kind of see it happening. One thing I do want to see on here is, John, I appreciate you keeping the handball courts in mind, but perhaps when they install new restrooms, I encourage you all to go check them out, but stop by the handball courts and check them out as well. You know, that area can use a lot of help. John, thank you again for working with folks to try to address it in the meantime, but we could see some of that on paper. I would appreciate that. I know the community would as well. So
And one of the things that's not sexy but necessary is one of the things that we're going to have to look at Los Animas is ADA and accessibility issues there. There are paths of travel to the restrooms that aren't sufficient in meeting requirements, parking lots to facilities, spectator viewing areas to restrooms, and perhaps even to the deal. So I've been out I was out 3 times out to Los Animas just last week to look at what needs to be done out there, and we need to look at those across the board at all of our parks, and we're going to be looking at refreshing the disabled or the accessible parking spaces there in the parking lots at Los Animas as well. So But we're gonna look at those throughout. We need to do that and show commitment to those issues as well. And they aren't very fun. They're not very exciting for the kids. But they are legally something that we've got to continue to work toward. And it's also just the right thing to do in terms of providing accessibility and equal access to all parties and communities. So, but that's a tough one. And those unfortunately end up costing quite a bit of money in the mix, but we'll work through that. So.
So I know, Emily, you brought up, possibly, adding another department to the list. Focus on, this is still, we seem to be, agreeing with Emily as well. Curious to hear from, other commissioners, before we move on to the next item, if there's, anything that you would all like to add, or if you all are, in agreement with, putting Los Angeles on the list for us to kind of focus on and take a look at our next fiscal year. What would be open discussion and, no? Okay. Yes, sir.
John brought up something that. Yeah, I don't know, what kind of symptom, I don't know who's in charge of, the dog, the doggy bags. And if they're, and having that available at every park, because a lot of people are walking dogs and I think it's an important issue, having clean air, especially having a near eating areas. A lot of people take their dogs, especially I saw it at Christmas Hills, and they have a number of picnic areas. You have a dog right there, and there's no doggy bag there close to the picnic one. I'm not sure if it's worth discussing it now or whatever, but you can bring up doggy bags, and I think it's an important issue for people to have those available.
To the chair, we handle that and we deal with it. I'd like to put on the record that as a dog owner, one of your responsibilities is to have those bags with you and clean up after your dog. No one should rely on any public agency to have to provide those for you to do the right thing. We're happy to do that. We do that. I can tell you, supplying those things is an extremely expensive proposition. I'll give you a price tag on just one of the replacement containers for those things. It's more than you would imagine on that, and that means that something else isn't getting done or something more fun isn't being put in there when we do that. I would never stop having those, but I would say that still, to the community, do the right thing. You know what the right thing is. Bring your own wherever possible. Sometimes we forget. I forget them. I'm happy when there's a doggy bag deal.
Dogs the whole time, and people are good, but dogs, obviously, I haven't go to the.
Yep.
I cleaned.
Got it.
Question on that, actually, which one in Roland Park? That was inside, and it's now the city of Gilroy, USD, that's, as well as the city of Gilroy, Roland Park sign. You're both removed too.
Are they still inside the fence there? I don't know where they went. I'll have to figure out what happened to those.
And there's a stand, like a pole with dog tags. There's also one of those low fences that had the Bean of the Park on it. It's city of Gilroy, Roland Park. And then when they fenced it off, they removed them.
I'm guessing they were moved to somewhere else, but let's not guess. Let's figure out. I'll see if we can figure out where it went to.
Talk about the sign with the bag.
Both.
Those bags are open to the
They
public.
were right next to each other. So
There's a set of bags on the major street on the west side, and there's a set of bags on the entrance by the tennis court. So there's two sets of bags over there, which I think is fine.
Okay.
Fine, sounds good.
So
Have that on John's radar.
just to confirm, we're keeping the project name, we're keeping Los Angeles. Are we gonna put something about the handball courts? I think we should.
Yes, I think that was the ask that I had.
Earl?
Yeah,
Just the handball courts in general, right?
yeah,
Mural, the,
handball courts, which are,
Okay, yeah.
the,
I mean, I know that there's gonna be some type of
Dirt.
sealant already, like, let's put that in, yeah, and the dirt. The thing is, those handball courts are so busy, you know, like, why don't we take care of them? I think it's easy, and then I think, Christmas Hill Park could be a stretch. I know that you're gonna be doing baseball stuff there already, but if there's extra funds, I think the infrastructure needs help there as well.
I'm okay with that, certainly.
Yeah,
I know the master plan will address a lot of this, what we're talking about, but have it in front of us, because you're right, it's still gonna be full and it's been set.
yeah, and it's such a
Mhm.
cool beach park, like I said, there's a
Uh,
lot.
The amphitheater,
Right.
you know, I mean, it just, you go down the list there,
Even the parking lot, like.
the parking lot. Yeah.
Tons
I-
there.
You know,
I'm
I'm,
able to.
you know,
Awesome. So, let's go ahead and, make note of those two if we can for that item. And we can just go ahead and move on to the next, thing on the list, which is establish permanent pickleball facilities. And it sounds like we're
rolling on
track
that
with
one.
that.
We're on track.
I think Kevin should be the first one to hit a ball and score that.
I'll do it.
Yes.
So maybe you change this, your project description to, have a rocking, ribbon cutting and grand opening event there.
Yeah.
But you don't have to do anything with this one, but it is moving
Yeah.
forward. I don't know if you're aware, Sean's last day was last week. He went to work for City of Monterey, but he did great work for us. He's one of our engineers. And so he did, most of the work on the pickleball, but he made sure he finished up
We'll invite him.
his job and everything with that deal, but he's working from home 2 or 3 days a week, so you can still go by his house if you want to go and hassle him during the workday. He's still local,
Everything's still on track. for
still on track.
This, and is there an actual, I know you said summer. I feel like that's fast, if they're, like, you haven't even broken ground, right?
It's probably a 65 day construction schedule.
That's
And
fine.
during the summer with no weather delays that you have to really contend with.
That are gonna come from far away to play on these sports.
No, they're not allowed to. They have to show their ID. I've told my friends at the city of Morgan Hill, we better not find any of those folks on our courts. That's still where we anticipate being. That deal.
The RFP has already been, worded to.
No, we're getting ready to package and put it out for bid. With that deal, but it'll be out for bid for probably 4 weeks and then to council, and then there's no long lead time items in there. Sometimes you get projects that have, you know, an 8 week lead time for ordering something or more. We're not anticipating any of that, so it should be pretty quick.
Thank you for that update. Let's move on to the next project, which is plan for the future. Update Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Seems like we're on pace for that.
Yep.
If we keep that one on there.
My suggestion was, you can leave it at that. Why don't you just leave it at that point? It was really more of was an idea that was at that point when you were talking was secure funding, and now you've got the secure funding, so now it's actually do the work, but that
Just a
covers it.
quick point, the secure funding is actually to try to find separate source of funding for recreation.
Oh, no, but I think if you looked at the minutes or whatever record for the Parks Master Plan, a lot of that was around is securing funding from the council for that work. So that's why I said that.
Just so I understand, you're referring to the second point on there, identifying potential funding sources.
Right. I think it's fine to Scott, but I think you should leave it on there. And
No harm.
The thought behind that was recreation, again, taking it back. Let's go back, recreation at one time was 15 people with an on record, with 4 people part of the general administration. And Watsonville has 2 separate sources of funding for the recreation program. That's why they have a big rec department, world class services they offer for the kids. I'd like to see people get back there and start to find recreation, a funding source for recreation.
What is the second one?
Pardon me?
So there are 2 separate sources of funding for the morning.
No, for Watsonville have a safety fund that they use on top of the police, and they got a sales tax that passed the recreation. So they had 2 sources of funding for the recreation. And right now, just so you know, for the new people, the way Parks and Rec gets funded is through the general fund. City council allows a certain amount of money for Parks and Rec, and it's been static for the last few years. And they needed to, into COVID and all the other things that happened, they cut, like recreation needed supposed to be cut. So nice to see it come by.
Let's keep that on there.
Yeah.
And then number 3 on that list is identify future recreation and expansion and expand joint use with the school district. John, can you just give us a very high level overview of how that last meeting went and just kind of update folks? Because it sounds like we're headed that way, but it doesn't seem like something that's can happen too soon, correct?
There's a joint meeting of the council and Gilroy Unified School District, and overall, the district is sort of holding in its position. I think it may have moderated a little bit, which was that, hey, yeah, we're willing to talk to city staff about joint use and everything that deal, but that will come at a cost of basically what the market cost is, or maybe a negotiated cost point on that one. But that was the takeaway from that. So it isn't a dead item. And it's something I think that we will continue to work toward. But I think the idea maybe to some extent at the city level is we need to let the recreation assessment move forward and try to figure out what community wants, needs, expects. How do you fund that? What facilities do you need to meet those goals? So I think there's a reason for this to sort of go into a little bit of a holding pattern until you really have that work done. And as far as sort of the future of recreation is that programming, but it's also the parks themselves. And I think the parks master plan comes back around to that issue too a little bit. And it's always that issue is what recreation means. And, it basically is a verb. It's an action, with that deal, but you have to figure out where that goes. So I think you can leave it. All I would say is that I think this is not, at least for the foreseeable months, this is not going to be something that you're going to see a lot of movement on unless and until, and I would say until the rec assessment, because it's not an unless now, but the recreation assessment occurs and finishes and kind of all that comes out.
One question regarding that. I was at that meeting, and it was brought up there that I think GUSD was applying with the letter of law regarding civic use of those facilities, which said that by law and there needs to be civic use where it doesn't keep student use. So there's a law that says that, but they are still walking in that inadequate characterization of it.
Well,
And then by charging market rate instead of.
Yeah, the issue, my understanding of the primary issue has been, it has been an issue of money in terms of what we're charged for it. And there's been an argument because of prior agreements that go back many, many years that basically said there was no charge to that.
But vice versa, when school district uses city. So
Sure. Same issue. We've been not charging we've not been charging the district for use of Christmas Hill Park for the cross-country meets and things like that. So I think the challenge and the question to some extent is how much joint use is there, or how much is it more direct use of, or desire for direct use of of the district's facilities for recreation programming.
That
But-
was my second question.
Yeah.
if you don't mind.
Yeah.
The essence of the conversation was a joint use between body of UST and body city of Gilroy, right? So if the city of Gilroy approaches GST to use a facility, there would be some accommodation. If the recreation department wants to use the source of the gym, there would be some accommodation and agreement for funds paid and so forth. But they require a body and it's the city. Whereas the general public, I don't think was addressed at all. So where facilities would be made available to the park user, I don't think there's any opportunity for GST to make those available if they aren't already. So if individual or family wanted to run on the Gilroy High track, for instance, or you use the grass facilities at El Roble or Kelly, they're not able to. There's no, correct me if I'm wrong, there's no way or accommodation from GOST to make this.
Well, I
It's
think
joint
there's.
use, but it's joint use between two bodies instead of.
Well, and I think that I would say that's the third leg of the stool to some extent. Which is the district, and they're not unique in this. The district looks at it from the context of a rental. Like we look at doing a rental at our park for somebody doing a birthday party. And they want to put the bounce house in, or they want to use and you have that type of issue with that. There is the bigger picture issue, which is that does the community get access to the park, to the track to run when it doesn't interfere with anything, just openly without having to get a permit to do so? Can the city, in essence, represent that interest and say there's a community interest to have the track open, from 6 to 8 in the evening or whatever on the, or whatever that be, for just open walking and everything, and just to use that point where there's really no impact, there's really no, any cleanup that really needs to be done, and could that be done? And that to me is that third leg. There's the one where you use a gymnasium, and obviously, you've got kids, if you've got kids, there's water bottles and whatever, Gatorade bottles and things that you need to clean up and deal with that. That's kind of one issue, whether it's and whether that's a rec program or whether that's a nonprofit group in the community. And then you've got the unified school district needs and issues with that deal. But that's kind of the mixing area where I think is where the conversation is that as, and then the argument being that you're all taxpayers, you're paying into and paying bond measure for those schools. And shouldn't you have access to it? They're saying they're meeting the letter of the law, which is that we can charge for that, but we allow people in there, but we charge for it. We're allowed to do that. And, so that's kind of where, that's kind of the bit of the friction point, I think, on there is what does that look like? And are there ever circumstances in which there really isn't a charge? But it's just open to the community for access. And
Sounds like something that we as a commission should have an official. So the lady mentioned at our last meeting that our body has no official position on that.
Mhm.
And not.
Well, yeah, and
So-
you have not taken an official position.
Perhaps that should be on.
Yeah, I love that idea. I think that's good.
It's, and you have that right to do that and deal with it. And I wasn't suggesting we never take it up, but until there is a conversation about what that looks like, you can take a position when and wherever you want to deal with that, but we can deal with that.
I think this is an issue that should pursue, and we're not gonna be able to go anywhere until, you're right, I think city council is definitely gonna wait to see what.
And the council is, and the count, and this, and I'm just saying, this commission cannot take on that deal separately and independently and must follow basically the council's direction on this.
But I think we can.
You can make a recommendation to the council, absolutely. That's your role.
This works really well. I can see talking to Park, hey, what do you think about having access to the school? Just having, because that carries weight, right? When you go in front of the city council and say, this is our position, and this is what we're hearing from this part, from these neighbors, that gets their attention, so. I'm for forming an official position from the body after we discuss it, to present the city council at the right time. And I'm all for doing that, but no.
We wanna like establish that as its own project, like, are we that serious?
We can add it to part of the scope of item 3 for plan.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Where it says expand joint use with the school district, it just needs to point for our position as a body regarding public use. Instead of just city and buildings. Maybe we can add that then too.
My word.
Yes,
So is the question? We want people to just, it's almost like adding an extra part, something like saying, hey, having access to. The facilities at schools, it's like having an extra, an extra plate, having an extra part, having extra access. So who takes on the responsibility again? I'm wondering what the deal with my school district is, what is their, I'm wondering the stance is, why would they not want to let people use their?
So Greg, I'm gonna jump in and just say, that level of detail is not in the agenda tonight. That's for that day when you come back and we have it agendized and we have a room full of people and you get to define and describe what it is you think joint use means from the commission's perspective on that deal and what you're looking at. I just suggest from Brown Act perspective, staying narrow on this issue. But we get it. I didn't think this was going away, didn't suggest it was going away, just that it's an interesting issue and it's not unique to Gilroy.
perfect, awesome. So it looks like recreation needs assessments.
So I would suggest, if I could share, that maybe the project description be modified on this one and really to reflect, participate and provide input on the city recreation needs assessment, something like that, where it just is clear about what it is your role is on that, because that's what the role of the commission is at this point, as defined by the council.
Is that outside person you mentioned earlier who's doing assessment of facility standards, conditions, or also in their scope of work have needs assessment as part of separate effort going on.
Same people?
It won't be the same people. The difference, and I don't believe that it will, but it could be. I would say it's unlikely because the recreation assessment is oftentimes done by a slightly different group of people. Sometimes it's done with the same type of firm with it. So it can be, but the way it's been set is the recreation needs assessment's going to go ahead of the parks master plan. The parks master plan will focus solely on facility, on the physical plant of the parks. But that can't be separated from what recreational desires and needs are wanted by the community. So some of your input that you get from the community will be on those issues, and also some will be fed by the recreation assessment.
Could we like change the project name to like provide input or something, and then put both like the recreation needs assessment under project description and then the park and trail master plan, like something like that?
I'm not assessing, just
The input or something, I don't remember. Yeah.
recommendations.
Yeah. Well, the only reason I wouldn't say that on the Parks Master Plan is that your role is going to be much different than an assessment. The assessment, they're coming to you as and asking your opinions and thoughts on these things and deal with that. Gonna be a little different with that, but if you want to group them together, we can certainly work and figure out what that is. A different role, but you can work them and put them together.
Yeah,
So is there consensus to group those together in there and reterm the project name? Okay. Okay. Tool description. So on, Chair, so on the agenda, we're two additional, well, really, yeah, two additional items to consider if you want to, or one or both of those would be great for the following year as well. It doesn't, there's a lot here. Just want to be considerate of your time and also be realistic about what staff can commit to in terms of those efforts as well. And then I threw out the question that came from the community member on the disc golf at Christmas Hill Park. Now, arguably, we could wrap in the conversation about disc golf into your request to have Christmas Hill Park added into the enhance, and we could look at it and just wrap it into that if you wanted to make sure that was sort of a clarity to at least consider the idea of the disc golf, if that's something anybody's interested in.
Recommend we put it into the assessments. Seems to be business.
Well, again, the recreation, I just want to be clear, the recreation needs assessment is going to be focused primarily on programming, not on what people want to do out in the parks. So
Not facilities, but
programming. That's what the needs assessment is focused on, is the type of programming that is available, and that's both from the city and from nonprofits. So Gilroy Little League, AYSO, name your group or whatever, is going to be part of the stakeholder group talking about, because they're delivering on behalf of the community and in essence, in lieu of the city, recreation programming to provide those.
Organize this call.
This group wants to open up a general open to the public disc golf. That was one guy.
The distinction I'm trying to make. We're talking about facilities, that's one thing, but if it's a demand or a need developed from specific groups, AYSO, Little League, City of Gilroy Rec programs, that's the needs assessment. Do I understand that correctly?
The needs assessment, the needs assessment is a recreation needs assessment is about recreation programming, whether provided by the city or an alternate method and everything like that deal. It is not about facilities. It will not touch on the desires of the community with regard to what types of facilities they want with that deal. That's going to be part of the parks master planning effort, where we're going to get input from people to say what kind of emerging items are out there. No one thought about pickleball in 2002 when the master plan was developed the last time. And so that's kind of one of those things, looking at evolving things. Disc golf was out there, but I don't think it was ever mentioned in that. But that's the distinction.
do you think it would still fall under the Parks and Trails master plan then, or maybe we could?
It would, but you could also, if you want to give an opportunity for those community members, we could put it under the Christmas Hill Park enhancement ideas and everything with that deal. At least consider what they're asking for and kind of dealing with that.
Like the enhance.
I can't hardly throw a frisbee anymore, so this is not a big interest for me and everything with that deal, but I just wanted to throw it out there. You could leave it off the work program entirely if you wish to. That's your choice. Yeah.
I seem really passionate, and
Yeah.
I like some frisbee golf on my own, especially if you have such a beautiful space for it, and
I guess my point of that, and I like the idea too, we've had one person, two people in the last year and a half that got this individuals. I don't know a lot about the sport, but they want to put on the ranch side, I'm assuming they want to put it in that dirt area, I'm guessing. We have 13 acres of the city owns, it's never been developed, but hopefully the master plan will have a vision for that, because that's got a lot of potential out there. That's the one by the red line. So, if they want to put it out there, there are other people who play these weird games out there. I don't know if you've been out there.
Yeah.
There's people who play this, and I don't know how it's gonna go with the frisbees flying and the balls flying. And the summertime, the baseball fields are being used, and soccer's being played. There's a lot of competing interest for that space. So I guess I don't see it, how that's gonna play out. Do we want to put an agenda?
It feels like because just that reason you're talking about belongs to the master plan.
Yeah, but I don't know if the master plan will address that, you know. like-
It can.
It can.
It
So we
can.
Just table this and just keep an eye out for it and decide when it comes up. Then at that point.
Well, And I think I will just say this through the chair, you've had the BMX folks, what's it called, the pump track folks have come forward. There's, there have been groups that will continue to come forward. The staff's recommendation would be come forward when we're doing the parks master plan. Let's identify where we might be able to accommodate that within our existing lands or in future anticipated development for park areas, and get a sense of how people feel about that and dealing with those issues again. And so I would put probably the disc golf in that issue. The alternative to that is, I would say, if you're going, I'll go back to this point I said before, Los Animas and the green area that's all along there, which is kind of underutilized, where the lake used to be, on the other side of the ditch there'd be absolutely no harm and no issue with starting with it. And my concern all along was it had for the individual that came forward, it had to be at Christmas Hill. And I think that part of the question is that the place to start with and do that deal? And I get it. They probably live closer to Christmas Hill and want to do that. But from a sighting, if I'm looking at it, I'm looking at that green area. We have a lot of grass we keep up and deal with that. And if you're going to put one in and do a trial run, that's the place to do that. But will people go there?
It's not like it's a master plan.
But I think it's a master plan issue.
I didn't know it.
But
I agree there. I have one question, you mentioned like pickleball, right? So this master plan is done rarely. Last one was 2002, so
last a minute and 4, I think.
3 years. So I think that we should, thinking about these things moving forward, beyond just say, come to master plan. That's if in 3 years there is another sport right to also want some sort of input and accommodation. Can't say come to the next master plan, which means the next 20 years. So it needs to be some sort of intermediate input and availability from us in the city.
Just to be clear for the group there, the master plan can be amended at any time you wish to amend it. Now, it will, the master plan will be subject to environmental review, CEQA review and everything with that deal. But I don't imagine that most amendments would kick in any kind of significant change to that. But I just, I think that can be set up within the master plan in terms of a regular review of those. I'd put it on at least a 3 to 5 year review of just to see where that point is and see if there's changes that need to be made. That's a normal process with this. Unfortunately, this document just went into kind of the shelf. After a while, and it's kind of been forgotten, except that this commission and the planning commission have pushed hard to get it updated.
Previous one, 2002, also have a schedule for funding.
For,
What do you think that, right? You said you insert some sort of language.
no, I'm not, you know, I won't say absolutely no, but I don't believe it did. With it, I've looked at it, but I can't recall, but typically in that you would, you know, and we can add that language in there to talk about how and when evaluations should occur on that.
I do, I don't know if you want to do like a potential project or want to add this somewhere. Personally, I think it could be a good project is something with, you know, what you said, bike and pedestrian encouragement, since the history of the bike and ped commission being standalone and then it rolling into us, and so maybe just making that a focal point this year of.
I think it's a great opportunity, especially with the funding available to do like education part of it. Is that what I'm saying?
Anything, like, I know that, you know, John kind of mentioned that the funding, you know, already there's departments at work and play, but you know, participating in community events, like just, we haven't been aware of it, we don't talk about it at all, really, anyway, last year we didn't. It's just like making sure that it's a focus. You know, we're aware of the events, we know the events, like we have input on the upcoming major B funding, you know, just, I don't know how to word it, but I think it would be good to have a standalone project name to have something to do with bike and pedestrian encouragement.
Wonder if maybe that would be sustained.
I would
So
say
that
that.
instead of. it
I'm-
being something
That's where I was going with
additional
it.
thing that we do to.
Yeah, that was my thought too, but I really don't want it to get lost. But I had that same thought. I wasn't sure what other people thought.
Yeah, we should, I agree with you. We don't have it on there. You're right. Should have a separate. I don't know where that falls.
But yeah, I kind of thought you did, like, our role would probably be participating in the events, but it'd be nice to have it out fully. So we take it more seriously, but I'm good either way with it, but I do think we should have it somewhere in writing.
And that's the suggestion,
Yes.
if that's what's going on. What I hear on the table in front of you is the idea of two options. One is to create a new a new major category under project description for engage the community, which basically discusses pedestrian and bicycle safety education efforts. And then you could break down what some of that means, much like what you've done with the other events. The other alternative to that is to create a new project name and description for that deal. And, you know, from a staff perspective, it doesn't matter which way you go with it. It's the same work. So we're happy either way. If you want to billboard that more, and make that clear, then that would be really through probably creating a new project name. Again, the same work is going to get done, the same everything, but it's all about what you want in terms of highlighting that effort, I guess.
I'm okay with it going under the project description for engage the community.
Okay.
You too.
That's good.
Yeah.
And, yeah, we'll restructure this. And what I like about, I'll tell you what I like about that idea and that solution is because it's the same issue as dealing with outreach materials, dealing with outreach supply budget. So it hits on both of those issues. So it doesn't matter what kind of outreach, it takes money, and it takes materials to deal with that, so. And then there was if the commission is interested in talking, and working through maybe some ideas on the operational aspects of the parks, hours and everything.
I love that idea.
I do too, and I think we could pull that into like top of the park, just get in there.
Okay,
And just that's all, just gathering information and see what comes up.
I would suggest that is a new.
Project.
I think that's a new project. I don't
Yeah.
think that would neatly fit under the maintain and enhance existing park facility, like. You could shoehorn it in there, but I think I would probably create a different category on that. And we can work on doing that. That's your recommendations.
You're okay with that?
Under project description, it'd be like. Review, like, you know, cities, other cities, you know, regulation, in our current one.
Here's what I'll suggest for you. Modernize city operations, hours of operation and operational regulations and deal with that. You know, citywide, whatever, something like that. It's basically the action is to consider and make recommendations regarding potential modernization of rules, regulations, including hours of park hours.
And within that, you know, you guys could provide us with like, okay, this is.
Yeah.
Okay.
The reason why I want it, I'm suggesting it on the work program, if you are interested in doing it. I would like this work program, work plan to go to the council again. And let them know, and so they can weigh in and say, you know what, we don't want you to do that. So that's what we also want. I don't envision that they will say that. But if there's something they really don't like, I would like them to tell us now so we don't waste time and effort doing it. And again, I don't think that's the issue, but I'd like to billboard that's coming if that's something you want to deal with. Because it will require an ordinance and that would require a first and second reading by the council. So that's a pretty big effort and something that they need to know that it's coming to them at some point.
So there's, are we looking at the operation? Operation is a big deal, right? Cause are we looking only at hours or are we looking at operations?
I would suggest you look at all of the operational regulations.
Right, so I need that, new stuff.
That's why modernizing is necessary. These are 50, 60-year-old regulations and they don't reflect drones. You know, they don't even, you know, there's all, if you go and look at current regulations out around various agencies and things, it's covering e-bikes, you know, drones, all of those things that have come about since that point.
Awesome. So that can be its own project.
It'll be its own project if that's the recommendation.
Consensus.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what else you got, Liz, John?
There is nothing else on there unless you have identified something absent this, and it better be real. I would say it better be really good because there's a lot here. You're taking on a lot, but
Yeah.
a lot of good stuff, I'll say.
The only thing that I would mention just from, well, nothing here other than just commissioner. Are you gonna get the 12.1? When I know we're not talking about parks, I just want to make the commission aware that on March 27th, bike safety is holding GSD, GPD with other community organizations are holding a safety meeting at Brown Alpha by 37. And we have an opportunity to table if you want. So that's something that I'll discuss now or it's me, which is the point.
No, I think we just gotta get an interest of folks to see if who's potentially available to take.
Not a bad, so that way.
We can canvas, if you want, we can kind of canvas the group and put that together, and then we can report, or the chair can report back on the 24th, what we're doing with that and who's gonna. If and
I
who.
would say the date here for folks, go on, I only have one copy, but if people want to take a picture of it, makes it fun.
We're on bike events. I think there's also a bike repair event at the library on the 13th. Did I read that correctly? Do you know?
Don't know, we can look at that. Which I think is it's a great event. With that safety is bike safety and everything with that deal. I'll see if something's going on with it.
Thanks for bringing that up, Liz. Yeah.
That's That's all we have tonight.
Awesome. So it looks like that was, so that's it, huh? Any, last minute?
Are we doing parks?
No,
No.
not today.
Special meeting.
Cool, awesome. So we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting.
To March 24th. It says 17th, it's March 24th, though, just to be
And
clear.
our next meeting will be on March 24th.
Location TBD, hopefully here, but we'll confirm where it is.
Perfect.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Pamela.
I know we're off the clock. Can I ask you something?